You are watching the Voice of Change channel, touching lives through music and message.
Throughout history, there have been countless stories, songs, poems about love. Welcome to the program where love writes the story. Welcome to Love Without End.
Death is our enemy. It steals our loved ones away. 4 years ago, death stole my father. 3 years ago, death stole one of my brothers. And almost 3 years ago, death came looking for me. I had 3 life-changing experiences in quick succession, 2 of which could have led to physical disability permanently in my body, and 1 of them which could have led to death itself. However, I'm still here now, smiling, happy, moving, and praising God. Sometimes when I share this experience with others, they say, "You were lucky," but I say, no, it wasn't luck. It was through prayer and God answering that prayer in that specific way, because God always has the final word.
Yes, he will. He will have the final word. One of the fundamental rights that we as human beings cling to is the right to a fair trial, to have our case heard, and for justice to be upheld and seen to be upheld. And when it comes to legal matters, it is the Supreme Court judge that has the final word. You see, God is the highest legal authority in the universe. And when it comes to hearing our case, the evidence has already been presented and the case notes examined. The Messiah Yeshua, which means God our salvation, has already won the case for mankind. And by mankind, I mean all people who believe, trust, and love the Messiah. Yes, love. For to love is to do what he tells us to do, so that we remain within the balance of justice and within God's protective care. Now, throughout this series, I've deliberately focused on God and his relationship with us. However, there is a darker side that we know was and is ultimately responsible for the evil that we see expressed around us in this dimension that we call life on earth. Death is the only reward that he, the Satan, offers, and our Messiah, Yeshua, Jesus Christ, will destroy him and death at the end of time, which is right upon us. The book of Hebrews puts it this way in Hebrews 2:14-16. Because God's children are human beings made of flesh and blood, the Son also became flesh and blood. For only as a human being could he die, and only by dying could he break the power of the devil, who had the power of death. Only in this way could he set free all who have lived their lives as slaves to the fear of dying. This is a win-win situation. If everything that he has presented to us is true, and if you accept that Jesus Christ is your Savior, then you would have gained everything and lost nothing. And if you believe this hope, change your life for the better and become a respected human being, and it all turns out to be a mistake, you will have lost nothing. But if you ignore this, believing it to be a lie, and it turns out to be true, as the evidence suggests, you would have lost everything. So Jesus must be real to you and to me. I wrote this poem that puts it this way. Jesus is real, and when I wake up in the morning, with him my life makes sense to me. You see, in this world of confusion, I know where I came from. I know where I'm going. Heaven is my destiny. I know that the hope I have is true. You see, Jesus is more real to me than you. And he's told me one thing, that I'm a child of the King. Yes, Jesus is so real to me. See, Jesus is real, and when I feel discouraged, I know he's there to comfort me. Amidst trials and temptation, he's still the God of creation. With him, no one can be against me. I know that his love for me is real. You see, Jesus has placed upon me his seal, and he's told me this one thing, and that I'm a child of a king. Yes, Jesus is real to me. Jesus is real, and when he comes in his glory, he'll take us home, wrapped in eternity. It's not a myth or a story. We can receive his glory and share his love with all humanity. This world has nothing good that we can choose. With Jesus, we always win and never lose. And he's told me one thing, that I'm a child of the King. Yes, Jesus is so real to me. Jesus must become real to you. His word must be the final authority in our lives.
What is the final word all about?
I shared last week that the idea of the return of Jesus, the promise of his return, and the fact that heaven for me is somewhere which is real, which will be a different mindset, a different personality, which will appreciate life in a different way from what we do as a human being. I said to me that's a message which really excites me. I also shared last week that being excited about heaven does not in any way mean that earth now becomes irrelevant, but I still embrace the idea that there is much beauty on earth. It's our duty to preserve that beauty, but also there is trouble, and it's our duty as human beings to spend ourselves and our energies and our efforts in sharing love, in helping others to live the best life that they can possibly live, to raise the weak and the fallen. That is our responsibility as human beings.
That's true.
I felt when we were doing this project that I wanted something even more to emphasize this message about the return and heaven.
Yeah.
So I thought, I'm not satisfied we have enough material which speaks about it. We had longing, but I said, need something much more powerful. So this was a night before we were due to do a recording session of some additional vocals for the recording of the album. And I said, I want a very powerful song about heaven. And the thought came about the fact that we presented this information about the gospel. We presented a particular worldview. Okay, I respect the fact that there are different worldviews on planet Earth. What we are presenting is something that we believe. This is our belief.
Yeah.
How you received it, if you believe the same as I do, because you're Christian, then that's evidence that you're going to see eye to eye. But you might be watching this as somebody who's not, or doesn't really have an appreciation, or might even be watching life from a different perspective, a different angle.
Sure.
And what I wanted to present in this song is, okay, we can put all the arguments out on the table. We can talk and philosophize and say whatever we want to say. But this song is courageous. It's daring. It's saying, okay, we believe that God will actually have the final word. When all is said, all is done, all the theories, all the philosophies, everything we're trying to do, that God indeed will have the final say in this.
According to your understanding, when will all this happen?
When he comes again, when we see him face to face, and we will see, right, well, this was real. This wasn't made up. This wasn't pie in the sky. This wasn't imaginary. It wasn't some wizard in the sky or some imaginary friend in the sky, as he's very often called by people nowadays. But actually, okay, here I am in the flesh. And that's what I believe, because everybody's looking for evidence nowadays, aren't they? Everybody wants evidence, and that's a fair thing to want. If you want to say something is true, you can't get more true than showing the evidence for it.
That's true.
So the idea of God having the final word when he comes again and people see, all right, well, here he is, then there will be no argument, no debate at that time.
Yeah.
So the song needed to be outspoken. He'll have the final word. The final word. All right, so that's the lines of the song. And then we added this, yes, he will. He'll have the final word. Yes, he will. The final word. And then it qualifies what we mean by that. When all is said and done, in glory he will come, I know. He'll have the last word, the final word.
That's interesting.
And then we expand on this idea that there are lots of theories, philosophies, which are rejecting what we believe is a true light and trying to deny God's existence, putting that aside. So this was really a commentary on society, particularly where we're living in the United Kingdom, it's where we're based as a choir. It's this continual attempt to just try to push God away. So this idea is that you can put these theories and philosophies out there, and you're trying hard to deny God's existence. All right, but then this whole idea of the final word is that, okay, say what you say, let's hear the debates, let's hear the arguments, then we believe that God will come and say, all right, thank you very much, I've heard what you want to say. Sounds wonderful, great, I understand why you said it, I understand your logic, but here I am. All right, and to put this across, we needed something quite victorious. The enemy is on the rampage, seeking whom he may devour. Victory, but its time will be over when Jesus comes in mighty power.
Interestingly, in the second verse, you speak of death as though it were a person.
The second verse, the 3 verses in a song in total, speaks about the reality of death.
Yeah.
And we've had lots of feedback on this song, people who've actually lost loved ones who said that this song has been their song which has provided comfort for them.
That's really moving.
Particularly through the second verse, which says that death, it speaks about what death really is. It's an enemy.
Yeah.
It's an enemy. Steals our loved ones away, and lots of times they are stolen away. At times people live out their lives, at times they are taken way too early.
That's true.
But we didn't want to dwell on that too long. There is coming a time, a grand and glorious day, when there will be no more sadness and no more shall we cry. All sorrow will be over, and death itself shall die. And again, that's borrowing from words in the book of Corinthians, which says, death will be swallowed up in victory. And there is a verse which says, grave, where's your victory? Death, where's your sting? So I saw that idea of almost us talking to death and saying, ha ha ha, you thought you got us, didn't you? You thought you messed up our lives. You saw our tears, but where are you now? And that's what I wanted in all sorrow will be over, and death itself shall die. We're talking to death and giving death the death sentence.
That's a powerful statement. I noticed the third verse has a change of mood.
The final verse, again, it's the same. Same harmonic sequence that we use, but it's just everything's now slowed down and a slightly different melody. The day is coming when all who make God their choice shall see his glory. So the idea is now we're just comforting people and saying, just hold on a little bit longer. That day is coming, it's coming soon. So when you are about to give up, and just hold on to the promise that day is coming.
Yeah.
And then it gets more dramatic. So it starts off with this rather dramatic. It's classical concert piano style there, just to build this dramatic section of the song. We had real powerful time in this studio recordings. Remember I said the song was written the night before?
Yeah.
So it was a piece, it was just hours and hours of going over it and just hearing really what I believe the Lord wanted to inspire through this song. And on the actual day itself, so nobody had known the song in advance, whereas the other songs, everybody, had the songs in advance with practice. So I said, right,
Sure.
come to the studio tomorrow evening, and we'll just put this together bit by bit by bit by bit by bit. We had this big kind of film moment.
Sounds like something from an Easter movie.
So the choir were doing all genres of music that night, really. They were doing this rather hard-hitting gospel, and then hear it come into this big classical film, epic film voice as we built this section up. The day's coming when all who make God their choice.
That's interesting.
And we had lots of stuff going on. At the sound of the last trumpet, resounding loud and strong. So we had all different things happening in the studio, voices going, oh, at that point in the background. He'll say it is finished, the victory is won.
Must have been a really powerful experience.
It was just a powerful moment we had in that studio as we put the song together and the elements and the parts of the song together.
I wish I could have been there. Sounds special. And then you have this really huge ending.
Then we do the chorus again, and this time it's slower. So before it's, he'll have the final word. So it's real freedom and joy. But now it's, he'll have the final word. So it's really settling the situation by being slower, more intentional at this point.
I can see that.
And then it finishes off on Amen. It's at the end of the whole thing. Okay, and it breaks out into about sort of 10 parts here. The choir's going, Amen, Amen, Amen. And we had all these amens going around. So the idea here is
like angels,
seeing the coming of the Lord, seeing the coming of Jesus, but everything, the whole atmosphere is just kind of surrounded with sound, surrounded by the angels, surrounded by light. I mean, we can't imagine really, a human limitation, how glorious it will be.
Sure.
But the idea is everything's surrounding us, and it's very busy as we see, loved ones rise, and that glory and that majesty, that pomp, really. And that's what we wanted to get in this really big ending of just having that little vision of, and I say it's a little because we can't see in our limited human understanding, but that vision of what that glorious day will look like and feel like.
That's really fascinating. Well, thank you so much for sharing these insights. We will most certainly hear it differently when you present it again in a moment. Do you have any closing words for the viewers?
So I hope you feel that sense of majesty and power, as well as a comfort, and as well as the fact that, what we've presented to you over this series are things that, we've given you a snapshot, but are things that really can be taken seriously, can be explored, examined more, and can provide comfort and foundation and hope for your future. I want to thank you so much for joining us, and it's been such a great pleasure and an honor to share with you what these songs are all about. They're not just songs that we try to put together to sound nice and just for your entertainment as such, but they really do. There is something that has inspired every line, and there's a reason why we do what we do the way we do it, and it's really so that you can get meaning from these songs. I thank also my dear brother David Billett, who has really just given some much deeper insight from a theological and intellectual point of view behind the various messages behind these songs. So it's been wonderful you joining us.
It wasn't luck. It was through prayer and God answering that prayer in that specific way, because God always has the final word.
With Jesus, we always win and never lose. Yes, Jesus is so real to me. Jesus must become real to you. His word must be the final authority in our lives.
He'll have the final word. Yes, he will. The final word. When all is said and done, in glory he will come. I know he'll have the last word, the final word. So many theories and philosophies rejecting the true light, denying God's existence, try to put him out of sight. The enemy Yes, He will. The final word. When all is said and done, in glory He will come. I know He'll have the last word. The final word. Death is our enemy. It steals our loved ones away. There is coming a time, a grand and glorious day, when there will be no more sadness, and no more shall we cry. All sorrow will be over, and death itself shall die. He'll have the final word. Yes, He will. The final word. When all is said and done, in glory He will come. I know He'll have the last word. The final word. The day is coming when all who make God their choice shall see His glory and shall hear His voice. At the sound of the last trumpet, resounding loud and strong, it is finished. The victory is won. He'll have the final word. Yes, He will. The final word. When all is said and done, in glory He will come. I know He'll have the last word. He'll have the final word. Yes, He will. The final word. When all is said and done, in glory He will come. I know He'll have the last word. The final
We are so grateful that you've been able to join us over these past few weeks, and we want to thank you so much. As you might imagine, it's been a bit of a challenging year to put such a program together. Our intention was originally to meet in person with several cameras and do it all together in the same space. However, of course, because we haven't been able to meet in person as a choir due to you know what, then we've had to rely on singers using whatever devices they have, wherever they could just film something in their own kitchens or their own back gardens, and just sending and just trying to make sense of it all. But nevertheless, it's been a rewarding journey, and we hope that you've really enjoyed watching as much as we've enjoyed the challenge of putting this all together. thank you once again. In our final program happening this Friday, the 11th of December, we want you to get something warm or cold, a nice big bowl of popcorn or something, and sit back because we're going to show all of the songs in sequence. So you can get to watch all of the music from all of the 10 programs and enjoy them one by one. So thank you once again, and please do join us on Friday, and please do tell a friend, share. We want to have a big crowd. Welcome you all into our big living room, and let's enjoy some time together on Friday as we watch all the songs from the series of Love Without End. And remember, He still loves you.
Please join us again.
And to find out how to get the recording of all of the songs in this series, visit croydonsdagospelchoir.co.uk.